Hi, welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Kassi and I am your host. And I'm here to make an announcement. It's kind of exciting for me because I haven't done this before, but I think you guys are going to really like it. I am going to start a crochet along, and the crochet along is going to be called the Magic Memory Afghan Crochet Along. I just wanted to let you guys know that this is going to be in a stitch sampler style, and because of the way that I have set it up, we are going to be learning 8 new stitches together. Because of my personality and how silly it is and everything, you might think that the concept is a little bit weird. Hear me out, and I think you guys are going to really love this. It should be relatively simple and relatively easy for you guys to complete it because of the way that I'm pacing this. So the pacing is going to be easy enough for a beginner to follow, okay? So what materials do you need? So the first thing you're going to need is 3,200 yards of a weight for yarn. It can be whatever kind of yarn you like to do. I would suggest an acrylic, but hey, you can do whatever you want. So what I'm going to need for you to do is pick out 1, 2, 3 colors and get 900 yards or 825 meters for those of you who use the metric system of color A, B, and C. Next, you're going to have to take into consideration that we're also going to be adding a border, and because we're going to be making blocks, we are going to need some yardage to crochet those things together, right? So what I've also figured, okay, and I might be a little low or might be a little high, but I would say about 500 yards or 460 meters more of either all 3 of these colors, okay? And that would be divided by 3, okay? Or a completely different color that you want to have the border. Or you could get more, like 250 yards in 2 of the colors, just whatever makes you happy as you're considering this, okay? You're also gonna need a crochet hook. So I'm going to be using a J hook. That is a 6mm crochet hook. If your gauge is relatively around what the standard says it should be, okay, then you'll be great with a J hook. But if you make your stitches a little loose, or if you want to make this Afghan a little bit smaller, we're going to use an I hook. And if you want to make your Afghan bigger, or if you make your stitches a little bit tight, we're going to go up to a K hook, okay? So either you're going to use a 6mm hook, which is a J hook, or you're going to use a 5.5mm hook, which is an I hook, or a 6.5mm hook, which is a K hook. All right, guys? Okay. You're also going to need some scissors, a tape measure, and a darning or tapestry needle of the appropriate size for the kind of yarn you choose. Oh yeah, and this is optional. You might also want to use some stitch markers, as that always helps when we're learning new stitches. So now that we've got all the physical things out of the way, now we're going to talk about that magical memory. What? So here's the deal. I want you to pick 3 colors that represent a memory for you, and I will use my own memory as an example. One of the most joyful times in my life was when me and my family visited Australia, and it was just perfect. We fell in love with it. It was when we visited Queensland, and on the trip we did go to Brisbane, that we really fell in love with the place. And I had a few friends there at the time. I went to see one of my friends play guitar, and when I was at the place enjoying the music, just really soaking up the atmosphere and enjoying the people there, I was told just a really, kind of nice story about something that I might enjoy while I was there. As you go along the coast, you are always in view of the ocean. So, of course, I needed to incorporate the sand and the ocean. And for me, that ocean was really, really nice, like a seafoam green. The story that I was told was that at sunset, if you are watching carefully enough, you can see the dolphins playing in the ocean as you watch the sunset. And it was just a stunning imagery for me at the time. I was feeling so joyful, so happy. I was feeling so connected to the place and the time, and it was during that pre-virus bliss that I think a lot of us probably felt. So when we got back, of course, Greg and I decided to apply to live in Australia. And of course, as soon as our application went through and all of that good stuff, that's when the virus hit. So as I was going through the virus and through that isolation, all of that, I just had this memory cemented in my mind of this really joyful, almost paradise, because of course it kind of grew in my mind like that. So when I found that the Queensland collection was on sale, it was on sale at Little Knits, I went ahead and bought a color combination that really perfectly encapsulated that memory for me, which was sand, seafoam, and this is called petal, or petal pink. I can't remember exactly. So these are the colors that I'm going with for my Afghan. So what I'm going to ask you to do when you're selecting the colors is don't worry about whether or not they go together, okay? That's not the purpose of this, although of course it's helpful if it does. Just think about one of those times where you were really happy. It doesn't even have to be something really momentous or really major, although it can be, definitely. It could just be when you listen to a certain song, you feel a certain way. Or it could be just maybe a moment from your day to day. And put colors to that memory, to that song, to that moment where you were feeling really good, okay? And regardless of the colors that you come up with, that's where the magic comes in, because these are all going to be sewn together in a way that reminds us of that beautiful memory. And so we are going to be making a truly unique Afghan. All right, guys. You know, I've always been a little bit weird. You guys who are following me know that. But this is the way that I think a perfect crochet along works. We need to create our own personal touches to the Afghan that we're going to be making. And I thought that that would just be a really special way to really help you guys anchor down onto this project and really want to finish it, okay? But I was also talking about pacing, so let's go back to that. What we're going to be doing is that we are going to be making 24 squares for our Afghan, all right? So that means 4 of them are going to be going across and 6 of them will be going down. And without the border and the sewing them together and all, that will be about 44 inches by 66 inches, all right? But when we add that border, it's going to add at least 3 more inches. So we're going to get 50 inches by about 72 inches, which is a pretty standard amount for an Afghan, all right, guys? So how are we going to be doing this and all of that? Well, if you take 24 and you divide it by 3, you get 8, all right? So there's going to be 8 different patterns that I'm going to be teaching you. Each one of them is going to have an aspect of crochet that I feel is a nice, calming, beautiful texture without going over the top, okay? Because I'm not going to ask you to make a waffle stitch, for example, something really, really texturized, but I will be introducing different textures and things that I have not shown on this channel before. So these can kind of double as a tutorial, okay? So even if you don't want to do the crochet along, you can at least get a tutorial for all of these really great stitches. So as we're making each square, we're actually making 3 of them, okay? So I want to give you guys enough time to complete each one of the tutorials. So how I'm going to achieve that is that I'm going to be posting a video every other Thursday so that you have 2 weeks to make all 3 squares out of your 3 colors. And then at the end, I will be showing you how to join the squares together, and I'll give you several joining methods so that you can pick the one that you feel works best for you. And then we're going to do a border. So in all, there's going to be at least 11 videos, including this one, okay? Because there's going to be this one for the introduction to my crochet along. There's going to be the 8 patterns, which counts for 9. And then there's going to be the joining methods, which will count for 10. And the border is going to count for that 11th video. And because this is going to be happening over the course of 2 weeks for each pattern, it's going to be a nice pace for even beginners to follow along. Hopefully that is a nice pace for all of you guys to follow along. This is going to be a really great crochet along, and I am really looking forward to showing you these different stitches. So that said, I want to give you a little preview for tomorrow's video. Let's take away all of this stuff here on the table, and I will show you what we're going to start with. So the first stitch that we are going to be using in our stitch sampler blanket is the alpine stitch. And as you can tell, I've already made it in this beautiful pink petal, at least it's beautiful to me, color. I've also started the sand color, and I will be doing the seafoam color with you guys as I do my tutorial for the alpine stitch. So tomorrow we're going to learn this, and then you'll have 2 weeks to make your 3 blocks, and then we'll go on to the next one. All right, so it's going to be a nice pace. So I wanted to show you why you're going to need the measuring tape. Each square is going to be basically a square measuring, at least with my gauge, about 11 inches by about 11 inches, okay? And that's where I got those numbers, 44 by 66, without the border and without joining them together. In actuality, it's going to be a little bit bigger than that, okay? Now, if you want to make a smaller one, as I said, just go down to an I hook, or a bigger one, go up to a K hook. But I've always found that the size about 52 by 70 is my favorite size for an Afghan, and it will definitely showcase all of these beautiful textures because the squares are very, very large. They're a lot bigger than maybe a lot of granny square Afghans are, although I do know that some people make very large squares for granny square Afghans. But it's going to be just a really nice, beautiful way to tie all of your memories together. One thing that I do want to say is the border color can be a completely different color from the 3 that you pick for the memory. It might just be a neutral color, for example, like white, or some kind of like khaki color, something that just matches all of them, and that is totally fine, okay? You can be as creative as possible as we're going through each one of these stitches. But I did want to mention that in case I didn't before. So guys, I am so excited to begin this crochet along tomorrow. I think you guys are going to really like it, and it's going to be really fun to do this with you guys. That said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the night or day wherever you live, and I hope that you are happy and healthy and looking forward to this crochet along. Bye! See you in another video.